Female, Labour, born in Germany and head of Vote Leave. Gisela Stuart is a rather unexpected figurehead for the campaign to get Britain out of the European Union, particularly in a debate which some say has so far been dominated by conservative men. So what turned a Blairite pro-European into the leader of the Brexiteers? Our political editor Gary Gibbon went to find out.
Marshalled into every picture at Boris Johnson's side.
Gisela goes to Brussels every week.
Yeah, Gisela. Tory and Labour, him and her, united for Brexit. That's the image Vote Leave wants to project, but not the one all the snappers are after. Gisela Stuart is a political oddity. The number of Labour MPs backing Leave is in single figures, and she was born and brought up in Germany.
You think the British have a rebellious streak?
Oh, absolutely.
You've rather picked it up.
I'm a Bavarian.
The Albert Memorial, monument to another naturalised German. Gisela Stuart says the EU is rooted in Germany's view that the nation-state is a failed model, and more Europe is the answer.
The Anglo-Saxon politics has always been to, you test ideas and then you end up with what you think is the most appropriate response to a given situation.
And the German political class would think there is an answer and Europe is the answer and everything's got to fit.
Yeah, because
the structure's there, it must be right, it must be followed.
And not to follow it is utter heresy.
The Thames at Henley. Not many Labour MPs get speaking gigs here. Gisela Stuart has come at the invitation of Henley Conservatives to debate with the pro-EU Tory MP Damian Green. She's co-chair of the Tory-dominated Vote Leave campaign. Half of Gisela Stuart's life just now is spent in meetings with Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, and a cluster of other anti-EU Conservatives.
You're sitting there now, at the very top of the Vote Leave campaign, keeping the peace between warring Tories? Sometimes.
If you're chairing something, you try and accommodate everybody's needs.
There have been words used over the years, haven't there, about the people who are most fanatical, keenest on leaving Europe. Swivel eye is one.
Well, I'm not swiveling my eyes and they're refraining from doing anything they might be tempted to.
You haven't spotted anything around the room?
I'm one of them.
20 years ago, she was on the other side, the poster girl for Tony Blair's pro-European credentials. He sent her to work under former French President Giscard D'estaing, writing a new constitution for Europe. The experience destroyed her faith in the project.
You believe?
I believed he was capable of change. I genuinely thought that there was a moment where this project was prepared to respond to the needs of the people, that he acknowledged that there were some countries who have deeper political integration and others wouldn't. And it was the 2001, 2, 3, that period of the Constitution, which made me realise it's not changing. And ever since then, I keep looking back and checking, because I keep trying to give up the subject of Europe. This is not what I want to spend my political life on.
You find you on both sides, from poster girl for Tony Blair's pro-Europe view, to now here in front of all these people, marshalling them to the other side.
And for very good reason, because I realised that project that started with the best of intention, that project which for about 30 years delivered good, overstretched itself.
Monday night, and Gisela Stuart is crossing swords with Nick Clegg at an Intelligence Squared debate.
The one fact, the one statistic, that's the one that's finally made up my mind.
He's part of the people who have benefited from the European Union.
He's a Euro-toff.
Well, sort of, but you know, that kind of free movement, decent salaries, all those kind of things have been great. Now, if that had happened to the rest of the population, I would say that's great, but that's been done on the back of 50% youth unemployment in Greece, massive youth unemployment in Spain, Portugal, instability in Italy. Well, if it's not good for everyone, then I think, particularly as a Labour MP, I kind of feel that the whole project isn't very good.
Gisela Stuart says the argument that Europe protects workers' rights is out of date.
If you have a commission that is two-thirds centre-right government, two-thirds centre-right parliament, two-thirds centre-right council ministers, they're not going to be socialist, are they?
Labour's not in great nick as it is. I mean, Your theory is that this referendum will drive it further into the ground.
Well, I think it will either drive people into just not voting at all and sort of withdrawing into a private sphere, or in particularly the areas of people who of unemployment, they will vote UKIP. They won't even vote for the Tories, they will vote UKIP. And I think that's a really bad moving of a voting population.
Why do you end up one of the very, very few Labour MPs with the wisdom to notice this?
I think I'm one of the very, very few Labour MPs who has spent more exposure to the workings of within the European Union.
1974, you came to Britain from Germany. You're first through the door. You're like one of the today's Bulgarians or Romanians, eagerly grasping freedom of movement, charging across the border. Some people might say you're now trying to kick away the ladder.
Freedom movement of Labour when I came. I came here because I had a job. It would take 5 years of registration before I would get indefinite leave to remain.
And that's a better way of doing things.
I think it's a much more controlled way of doing things.
And they're all men.
Yes, all down, all the freeze on the bottom of this paper.
Goddess up there.
Yeah. The most prominent woman in a male-dominated campaign, Gisela Stuart argues that Europe is just too rigid to incorporate Britain, her adopted home.
You're not sure you're not being a bit Germanic here? It's a great big body of nations. It's not going to be perfectly symmetrical, neat. Everybody doesn't have to sign up to the same things. Just because we're not in the euro doesn't mean we can't be part of it.
That would be a fair charge to lay against me. If part of my decision is also having experienced firsthand the European Union's institutions' unwillingness and inability to change and adapt. And you could argue, why don't you stay inside and change it? Well, people keep trying to do this and it just doesn't change.
Gisela Stuart says Germany's rejection of the nation state as a failed model is at the heart of the European project. A world away from how most Britons see things. Just one more reason, she says, to get out.
Gisela